is the most futuristic technology on the planet. But next, we're going with the $10,000 technology, Neuralink, which is a computer chip surgically implanted into the brain, enabling people like Nolan here to reconnect to the world. So you were paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah, and for about 8 years, I was trying to find some purpose in my life.
And then you got Neuralink, and what has that changed?
Anything anyone can do on a computer, I can do.
And he literally does it by using only his brain. You are currently moving that with your thoughts.
Yeah, man.
I want to see you send a text with your brain.
Okay.
His hands are paralyzed, but we're going to film them so you can see they're not moving. And using the neurons firing in Nolan's brain, Neuralink can translate those signals into movements. He just typed hi with his mind. Is this not crazy to anyone else? But that's not all he can do. So you just think left, and you're about to turn left.
Left, right, don't die.
No!
There we go.
He absolutely crushed us playing with only his mind.
I never thought would allow me to do anything like this.
And future technology can not only help the mind, but also the body.
All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Chakudash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth and Holy Spirity, and salutations to all you can pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth, and sincerity and the truth. As you can see, this devil, he's pushing this MOTB heavy, and this year, as Elon Musk said, I think back in December, that 2026 will be a heavy push, for the Neuralink, because these devils, as the scriptures say, they know they have but a short time. They understand the prophecies of the scriptures, and they understand, history, and they know that empires don't last forever, and America has reached its peak. America is on its 250th year, which is the average age of empires before they die, before they lose power, on a global scale. And we see that, and that's why all these nations, they're all puffing up their chests, because they realize that too, that this is a fallen empire. Revelation 18, Babylon is fallen, So this is, the Lord is systematically breaking this place down. And, eventually, the Lord is going to destroy it with the nuclear missiles. As it is written, there's going to be 200,000 warheads to pelt this place off the face of the earth. So these devils, they know, what we're saying. They know the prophecies that we're bringing out are coming to fruition. So they're trying to get this newer order, started as soon as possible, So as you see in the video, Mr. Beast, right, which we've been knew he was set up, because you're not going to get all those billions of views and traction unless you're juiced in, and this dude been juiced in, and what a name. He just so happened to have the name Mr. Beast. Like, come on, man. This devil, he's known for so-called helping people, all around the world, people that's poor and, destitute, people that's disabled and paralyzed, different things. He pays for surgeries and all these things. So to the world, he looks like a philanthropist. He looks like he wants to help people, and with this push for the technology is making people think that it's actually going to benefit the world. But this is how the devil tricks you into, into prison pretty much, because that's what this chip is. It's a form of slavery, and if you take it, you'll basically be imprisoned in your mind. You will be a slave to whoever is controlling that technology, which is the powers that be. So they'll be able to control people like you do in a video game, So this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." So it says another beast come up out of the earth. Now, when we read this chapter, that beast is going into Rome, and Rome is the first empire to have had that political system, that democratic system, they had two parties, the plebeians and the patricians, which America modeled itself after Rome. You know, that's where they get their political system from, you know, everything, because America is Rome reincarnated. Scriptures say that the beast would have a deadly wound, which is Rome, and eventually the deadly wound will be healed, you know? So the deadly wound was healed during the time of the Renaissance, you know, which means rebirth in French. So these devils, they basically brought back Rome. This is Rome 2.0. This is why you go to courts, everything is in Latin, you know, Latin numerals and everything. The architecture of these government buildings are modeled after Rome. And also, this is Rome 2.0, right? So it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. That's right. So these devils, they act like they're for the interest of the people, you know? So they have these two political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats represents the average person, and then the Republicans, they represent the rich, you know, and these corporations, you know. So they act like they for the people, but they're working towards the same agenda. They all have, you know, whatever differences, so to speak, on certain issues, but when it comes to certain, you know, other issues, they all, you know, agree. You know, here it is, they can agree on funding for government, which causes shutdowns, but they can agree on containing China. They can agree on going to war with Iran. They can agree on passing more authoritarian laws, right? So they had two horns like a lamb, so they come in humble, right? Because the scriptures say that the words of the so-called white man's mouth is smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. His words is softer than oil, yet they're drawn swords. So he act like, you know, he's for your good, for your benefit, but deep down in his mind, he's trying to take you out, you know? So he spake as a dragon. The dragon is what? These authoritarian, draconian laws, you know? And we see that happening right now with this administration, passing different laws and legislations to take away people's rights, you know, your right to freedom of speech, your right to bear arms, you know. You see the whole thing that's happening with, you know, Minnesota, Minneapolis, and now they're about to implement martial law. That is them speaking as a dragon. Trump is speaking as a dragon right now. The cruel Lord, you know, he's showing his teeth. He's showing his fangs, you know. This devil is showing the world how cruel he is, right? Verse 12, it says, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. That's right. So America models itself after Rome, you know? And the same things Rome was doing is the same things America's doing. Same way Rome fell is the same way America's fallen. Military spread out all over the world, stretch out too thin. Too much money on these foreign campaigns. The economy at home is all messed up. The people at home aren't happy, so they're given bread and circuses in the form of, you know, entertainment to keep them busy, you know. And Nero, he burned down Rome and blamed the Jews for it. You know, now, you know, the economy's all messed up. Everything that he's done, but who is he blaming for it? Immigrants, you know, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, blaming DI and different programs related to the Israelites, you know, to basically, you know, justify, you know, basically he's like, yo, this is Biden, Democrats, blacks, you know, the immigrants, right, for their issues, you know, the accuser of our brethren, as the scriptures call them. They love to blame us for their bullshit, you know? But it says, verse 13, it says, and he doeth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth and the sight of men. And that's what they've done, you know, during Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know, they dropped those those atomic bombs at the time on those cities, you know, and that's what started their, you know, the reign of, well, they've been had the reign of terror, but once they dropped those bombs, that's when they was able to go all over the earth and stump people, you know, because people were scared of them. They established that we could utterly annihilate you, so you better bow down. So for decades, those heathens, you know, they've been bowing down to the white man, but now they're all getting their hands on their technology and they're all bucking up against Esau, you know, and that is prophecy, you know, that these nations would rise up against Esau to go to war with Babylon, right? So it says, verse 14, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. So his miracles refer to his technology, you know, and we see that, you know, we see that video. Dude can control the computer with his mind, you know. They're trying to embellish it. And this year we're going to see a lot of push for that in the form of many celebrities coming out with, you know, Neuralink, making it look cool, you know, and other versions of the chip that they're going to have, you know, whether it be the Neuralink in the head or, you know, the chip in the hands, which, you know, have been made popular in the past decades, especially in Sweden. You know, they have different chips, you know, because the so-called white man, he knows how to get to people. He knows the mind. He studies the mind. So he has to, you know, make it seem like it's your choice. So he gives you the illusion of choice. He gives you all these different options, you know, but he pushes you into getting picking those options where you have no choice, you know. So, you know, he'll make it, he's going to make it hard for people to live without having this digital ID. And then eventually we know it's going to be the chip, of course. But like the scriptures say, we're going to go into it. You're not going to be able to buy or sell without it. You know, so it says for miracles, it says a sign, mark, token, that by which a person or thing is distinguished from others and is known. A sign, prodigy, portent, an unusual occurrence transcending the common course of nature. So an unusual occurrence and transcending the common course of nature. So this is the things that the so-called white man does is supernatural, you know, and he does it with technology. You know, the scriptures speak about how he's wiser than Daniel, and there's no secret that can be hidden from him, you know. So they spent billions and trillions of dollars over the course of these decades, centuries, to come up with this technology, you know. So those miracles differentiates the so-called white man from others. He's the, you know, the top when it comes to technology, you know. It says a sign of signs portending remarkable events soon to happen, of miracles and wonders by God, by which God authenticates the men sent by him. So, you know, his left hand miracles and wonders is his technology, you know, and that's what gives him his God complex, you know. It says, or by which men prove that the cause they are pleading is God's. Okay, so now let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 2. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. You know, his devices is going into his deceit, his trickery. The Greek word for devices is noema. It says perception, purpose, the intellect, disposition itself, device, mind, thought, right? His mind, his thought, his plan is to enslave you using this chip. It says a mental perception, thought, an evil purpose, that which thinks, the mind, thoughts, or purpose, right? Hold on. Yep. Hold up. See what the root is. Okay, it says to perceive with the mind, to understand, to have understanding, to think upon, heed, ponder, consider. Yeah, so, you know, the so-called white man's agenda is to enslave humanity using this chip. You know, we're not ignorant of his purpose, of his agenda. Agenda 2030, you know, the Great Reset, the New World Order. It's all the same shit, right? This is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. It says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." So Satan, which we know, according to Revelation, the 12th chapter, is 12th chapter as well as the 20th chapter. Satan is the so-called white man, you know? So no marvel for Satan, which Satan means adversary. You know, everything they're doing is contrary to the ways of the Most High. You know, this whole Neuralink, you know, these technologies, they're all contrary to life. They kill life, you know, and it requires all these AI data centers that's killing life, you know, sucking up all the resources, the waters, and destroying habitats and poisoning, you know, nature itself. The scriptures talk about how the so-called white man, he's as deaf and is as hell. So if this man is as deaf, what makes you think that he's going to benefit you, that his technology is going to give you life? You know? That's why, you know, the Israelites speaking, talking about, yeah, take the vaccine, right? Them niggas that show you they sell out, man. They sellouts. Because how is it the scriptures tell us not to trust the enemy, never trust your enemy, this devil, but then they'll tell you you're a coward if you don't. Speaking about ISUPK and IUIC too, you know? And ISUPK said that General Yohana, he said, "You think God cares if you take a microchip?" That's what he said. You think God cares if you take a microchip? So right there shows you that his mindset is when it comes, he's going to take it, and he's going to encourage his congregation to take it. And the judgment for taking it, Revelation chapter 14, verse 20. No, verse 19. No, Slakia. Is it 14? 14 and 9, Slakia. Yep, this is Revelation 14 and 8. It says, "There followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." And we see that, you know, this is the fall of Babylon, you know, and it's systematically being broken down, you know. And the wine of her wrath of her fornication is going into their democracy, their philosophies, their way of life. You know, they spread that all throughout the other nations. And now these nations are all implementing the New World Order. They're all implementing these digital IDs and eventually these RFID chips, these Neuralinks, or they're going to have their own versions in their countries too, you know? So all nations have drink of the wine of her fornication. Verse 9, it says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Yashah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." So if anybody takes this chip, you know, their judgment is going to be utter destruction, utter annihilation by nuclear fire, right? As Yahweh Shah and the holy angels and the elect are having a first, front row seat to this destruction. You know, people gonna be burning up, you know, while Yahweh Shah's watching the asses and the elect and the angels, man. You know, that's gonna be a hell of a sight, right? So, you know, that's the judgment, you know. So this is a warning to the children of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the ones in the know as well as the ones that's not in the know. You know, the ones that's in the know that's in these other camps, you know, that's following these other leaders. You better repent, you know, because when that time come, you know, you going to listening to these guys going to lead you to take it. And taking it is going to result in this judgment. You know, so with that, I hope this was edifying. I'm going to close out and give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yashah, Bashim Chakadash, Double honors to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth and all his purity, and salutations to all the Ark and Bush in his word throughout the four corners of the earth, and sincerity in the truth. Shalom.